Hello everybody, and welcome to CCCLXVI, the podcast where we talk about the last movies we watched in the last week. Now, before we get into the movies, I'm going to have to say two things. Number one of my favorite actors, Abe Vigoda, has died. I feel like I just had to say that for the podcast. But I'm not going to linger on that too long because we have an even more important announcement to make, and that is that we are going to not do 7 movies a week anymore. We are going to begin doing less than that, but in the summer we're going to be doing 10 movies a week, but now we're going to be doing around 5 movies a week because we found that doing the 7 movies every single week a bit too strenuous and time-consuming. Benji found it a bit too hard to keep that up all the time. Now, let's get on to the movies. The first movie we watched this week was Mulan. Now, Mulan is my favorite Disney princess film. However, that's not saying too much considering how I haven't seen a lot of Disney princess movies. What is your opinion on Mulan, Benji?
Mulan's my favorite princess movie too, but that's not saying a lot. I'm a boy, and Mulan isn't necessarily a princess. She's like a warrior, like she's a fighter, she goes into like war and stuff, and so she's not necessarily a princess, and so I feel like boys can like it more than they can like other princess movies.
Okay, I agree with you. Mulan is definitely the least Disney princess-y Disney princess movie. There's a lot of things that are not really Disney princess-y in the movie, such as there's a lot of fighting and action and swords and stuff going on all throughout this movie, which I find really interesting and fun to watch. And so, yes, Mulan is my favorite Disney princess movie. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. The voice acting is great. The songs are great. I really love I'll Make a Man Out of You, which is, again, it's a bit weird considering how I am a boy. But I love that. The animation is great, but that's to be expected with a Disney princess film. And just everything about this movie is great. 10 out of 10. It's highly rewatchable, and if you've never seen it, I'd recommend you watch it. Do you agree with me, Benji?
I agree with you.
Would you give it a 10 out of 10 as well, or would you give it something different?
Yes, I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay. Looks like we agree pretty good on that one. Now on to the second movie we watched this week. It was The Sting, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. The Sting is a crime film that takes place in the 1930s, and it's really good. I really enjoyed this. The acting was great. Paul Newman and Robert Redford were great. This movie won 7 Oscars, so that shows how good it is. The costume design was great. The music was great. I think have I said that? I don't know. But the music really made you feel like you were in the 1930s, and I loved it. What are your opinion on this movie, Benji?
Pretty much everything you said you liked, I liked too. I really liked Robert... What's his name again?
Robert Redford?
Yeah. I really liked Robert Redford because I just like him. He's cool.
Yeah. This movie is great. I really enjoyed it. Once again, another crime movie that we're reviewing, and I really like crime movies. And unlike the previous Robert Redford and Paul Newman movie that we watched, this one actually has a happy ending and not a sad ending. So yes, I love this movie. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Won 7 Oscars. It's great. What would you give it out of 10, Benji?
10 out of 10.
Okay. The third movie we watched this week was another Robert Redford movie, but instead of being paired with Paul Newman, he was instead paired with Dustin Hoffman, and this movie was All the President's Men. All the President's Men is a movie about the investigation of the Watergate scandal and all of that. And it was a very interesting movie, and it really reminded me of 12 Angry Men. What are your opinions on this, Benji?
It also reminded me of 12 Angry Men. I like it for the same reason I like 12 Angry Men. They go through a lot, and it's like, I kind of wanted to watch 12 Angry Men again, but we can't review it twice because it'd just be the exact same. And so I was like, oh great, we can watch All the President's Men, and I could pretty much just review it. And I could say, I just liked it.
Yeah, All the President's Men is great. One of the first places I heard about All the President's Men was, I was watching some videos of the Oscars. There I had watched a video about it winning, or not about it winning, but them being awarded the Oscar for Best Set Design, which really surprised me because from what I'd seen, this movie took place in a newspaper place, and that seemed a bit weird that should win set design. But watching this movie, I really like the sets, which is weird because I don't normally pay attention to the sets. So, yes, All the President's Men is great. I love it. The acting is superb. The writing is good. Once again, by William Goldman, the same guy who did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and the guy who did The Princess Bride. Is everything in this movie is fantastic. Acting's great. I love it. 9.5 out of 10. The reason I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 is because I don't feel like it's the most rewatchable movie. I'd rather watch a different movie than this one, such as maybe Mulan. But unlike Mulan, this movie is Oscar worthy in my opinion. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
What would you give it out of 10?
Oh, a 9.5.
Same as me. Pretty good. On to the fourth movie we watched this week was The Sixth Sense, directed by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, and starring Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment. This movie was pretty good. I liked it. It's a great ghost horror story, and I really enjoyed it. What are your opinions on this movie, Benji? And by the way, sorry, before Benji talks, I have to say spoiler alert if you've never seen The Sixth Sense, because there's a twist in this movie, and if you haven't seen this movie, then just stop listening now. Or if you haven't seen this movie and you don't want to be spoiled, then stop listening now. But if you have seen this movie or don't care about being spoiled, then continue to listen. Go on, Benji. What are your thoughts on this movie?
Well, I was not expecting the twist at all. It really took me by surprise. I was like, oh, okay. At first I didn't really get it. Like, I had to tap on Ethan's shoulder. I was like, wait, what just happened? Anyways, I liked it.
I already knew about the twist because, once again, as with Terminator 2, being on the internet, you sort of know about all the stuff that happens in most of these popular movies, I guess is the word. And so The Sixth Sense is great. Haley Joel Osment, even though he's like 11 at the time or whatever, he does a great job by being a kid. Bruce Willis also does a great job. And the way that they're able to frame the twist in this movie without giving it away is fantastic. And even though I already knew the twist, it's very interesting to watch this movie and see how they pulled off the twist. Do you know what I mean, Benji?
Yes, I do. I know what you mean.
Yeah, so Sixth Sense is great. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because the reason why is because, once again, rewatchability is not the best. I'd say maybe watch it twice. The first time, if you haven't heard of the twist, to just watch the movie, and it's great. The second time is to see how exactly did they pull off the twist. But afterwards, there's not really too much to it. But the writing is great, the story is very nice, the performances are great, the idea is great, everything is great. I like The Sixth Sense. So, 9 out of 10. What would you give it, Benji?
A 9.5 out of 10.
One of the reasons I probably rated it a bit lower than you is because I already knew the twist. So I only... because the half of the rewatchability of this movie I didn't even get. So, on to the fifth movie we watched this week, I think, was The Truman Show. And The Truman Show is a very interesting movie, in my opinion, because most of Jim Carrey's movies are very silly, and he plays a silly character. But this movie showed that Jim Carrey could act, and The Truman Show is great. What are your opinions on The Truman Show, Benji?
Well, you say it showed he could act, and usually he was really funny and stuff. Well, that's not saying he wasn't funny and crazy in this kind of. There were some parts that made me laugh. And, I really liked it.
It's a lot more serious than the normal Jim Carrey movie. And, but
I've never seen a movie with Jim Carrey before.
Yeah, you have. You just probably don't remember. But I know you have. It's not entirely serious. There are silly parts, there are funny parts that you can watch and laugh at. And that's another thing I like, is how they're able to blend a serious movie that's actually sort of a social commentary on life and comedy in the same thing. And so yes, I love this movie. Jim Carrey does a great job. The story is very unique and written very well. Directing is great. I really like the music of this movie as well. Yes, overall, great movie. I'd give it 10 out of 10. Because unlike some of the other movies, I would watch that movie right now if I had the chance. Or if I had the chance and I didn't have anything else to do and it didn't have any negative consequences, I would definitely watch that movie. What are your opinions on this, Benji? Or what would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it a 10 out of 10. For the same reason you would give it a 10 out of 10.
Looks like we agree pretty well. On to the sixth movie we watched this week was Sherlock Jr. Sherlock Jr. is is the second shortest movie we watched, not as short as The Red Balloon, but it is definitely the movie with the least amount of talking, because it's a silent film, and it's also the oldest movie we've seen so far, coming out in the 1920s. Sherlock Jr. is a film about a guy who works in a theater who wants to become a detective, and that guy is played by Buster Keaton. And this movie is great. It's only 45 minutes long, so it's not too long, but it's a movie. And if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend you watch it. It's very funny and enjoyable, and it's very interesting to watch this movie and see how they're able to express emotion and all of those different things without any words. So what are your opinions on this movie, Benji?
Well, you said without any words. There are certain times where what they do is they, like, there's a text box, like, the screen's black, and then there's, like, a little thing and it says, like, I've lost $1, or something like that. And then that's how they show that, you know?
Yeah, that's true, but the thing is that most of what people get whenever they're doing dialogue and stuff is the words aren't the most important thing whenever it comes to conversing. Well, they're very important, but the way that people say the words and speak the words and the way that they use the inflections in their voice and the way that they sound is very important whenever you're talking to someone. And in a film like this, they can't really do that. They only can rely on text boxes, so they have to use their acting abilities to act out their emotions that they're feeling more than just if they could just be able to talk. And I think that's very nice, and I really enjoyed this movie. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. The reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is because, once again, I don't feel it was particularly Oscar-worthy, but it was still a great film. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that you watch it. And so, yes, Sherlock Jr. is a great film. The oldest film on our list so far, and I don't know. It's great. What are your opinions? Or what did you give it out of 10, Benji?
9 out of 10. Because it's not Oscar-worthy.
Yeah, and it's old. I mean, if you want, it's not a very technologically advanced movie. That might not be the best for some people. I sort of like it a bit because it's old, but some people might not. On to the 7th movie on our list, The Hudsucker Proxy, starring Tim Robbins, Paul Newman, and with a bit of extra sort of cameo appearances by Bruce Campbell and Steve Buscemi. The Hudsucker Proxy are also directed and written by Joel and Ethan Coen. And also, I think it was also written by Sam Raimi, the same guy who did Army of Darkness, Benji. In case you didn't know that. Did you know that, Benji?
Oh, yeah, you talked about that whenever we were watching it.
Never mind. This movie is pretty good. I liked it a lot. Pretty fun and enjoyable. I liked it. What are your opinions on it, Benji?
Well, I liked it. I feel like you've said it all, pretty much. I don't feel like... it's just good. I don't know what to say. It's just good.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best movie on our list, but I enjoyed it. The performances were pretty good. The writing and directing was pretty good. Most of the things in this movie were pretty good, so if you haven't seen The Hudsucker Proxy, I recommend that you would watch it. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10 because, I don't know, it just didn't feel like the best movie I've ever seen. And the Deus Ex Machina at the end, which means man from the machine, in case you've never heard of Deus Ex Machina before. Anyways, at the end is a bit, I don't know, I just feel it was a bit not the best way to end that movie. Do you know what I mean, Benji, right? Don't you agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why, and it's not the most rewatchable movie, but I enjoyed it. It's pretty funny. I like it. So, yes, that was the 7th movie on our list. Or what would you give it out of 10? Sorry.
9 out of 10.
We have a brief honorable mention. Fresh Guacamole. Now, this is the shortest short film to be nominated for an Oscar. It's about 1 minute and 40 seconds long. So, if you watch anything from this list, please watch Fresh Guacamole. It's a very interesting and short film that I can't really explain what happens in it, right? It's very weird, but it's very fun and enjoyable to watch. It's great. Shortest short film to be nominated for an Oscar. It's on YouTube, so yes, please just watch that. I'd give that a 10 out of 10, Fresh Guacamole. The reason why it's an honorable mention is because it's not really a movie. It's only 1 minute and 40 seconds, but I loved it. The sounds and the visuals and everything in that were just so satisfying,
the sounds were very satisfying. It's like, it's just great.
All that, sound effects and stuff, yeah.
It's just great.
Also, it's very creative, very, very creative short film. So yes, this week we have a ton of great movies. Only 2 of the 8 things that we mentioned were not nominated for Oscars, I'm pretty sure. And one of the 2 was made before the Oscars existed. So, this week is a great week. I'd highly recommend all these films that you watch, but the main thing that stuck out to me was Fresh Guacamole, and it was just such an interesting thing, and I can't quite get over how interesting and strange this is, right?
Yes.
What would you give Fresh Guacamole out of 10?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, the shortness definitely helps as well, because I can watch that thing over and over and over. So yes, great week. I've loved this week. I've been Ethan.
And I've been Benji.
Took you a while. And this has been week 4. As I said yesterday, or not yesterday.
The reason why it took me a while is because you said, I've been Ethan. I'm like, you're not, like, you know, what I would say is, I'm Ethan. I wouldn't say, I've been Ethan. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways. So as I said earlier in this episode, we're going to be sticking to around a 5 movies a week format because 7 is a bit strenuous, but we're going to switch back to 10 in the summer. So, yes. This has been CCCLXVI, and goodbye.